First, starting with my left, Mary Clark. Mary is the Provost at the University of Denver and the Executive Vice President Chancellor. University of Denver, is embracing esports in a big way. Next to her, Rob Simon. Rob is the creator of the film we just watched. He's executive producer and president of Burst Marketing, a video streaming and podcast production company. Next to him, we have Sarah Williams. Sarah is the regional manager for Nerd Street, local host, a leading esports venue operator. And rounding out the panel at the end, Dan Migala, co-chair of the Esports Committee of the Denver Sports Commission and co-founder and chief innovation officer of Forefront, a sports and entertainment marketing agency. So please join me in welcoming our panel. Before, as we get started, Rob, I want to start with you because in talking to different people before we saw the preview, the premiere, it felt to me, I had a chance to see this before, and it felt like a glimpse of the future. And Dan, I think you had a great point. It's like we're in the DeLorean. We've had a trip to the future. You gave us a glimpse. How did it come about? How did you make this happen?
Well, first, I have to thank Don Zuckerman and the Colorado Film Commission because they kind of put the deal together. And they helped move it forward and do a lot behind the scenes. So thanks, tip of the hat to you guys. So there was that, but we then, the good news is he said, basically we've got the project, and the bad news was we only had like 60 days to put it together. So fortunately we were also working with, as our production company, Citizen Pictures, which is an Emmy-winning production company here in Denver, been around for like 26 plus years. I think there's quite a few of them here in the audience. Hopefully there's Elena Galan. Did I say your name right?
Galan.
Okay, Galan, sorry. Okay. Never actually have to talk in person anymore, so. So they had 60 days to put it together, and Elena was the senior producer for Citizen Pictures, director, writer, so she basically was doing everything and putting it together. And so it was quite a fast sprint. We had to get interviews with people, get them lined up. We were using remote recording technology for the stuff that we couldn't shoot on site because of the pandemic. So the challenges were many to get it done, not least of which was actually finding a lot of the quote B-roll footage that we needed to use to show people playing games, because we ran into issues of licensing, because you can't always show games on the screen. Events too that also had copyrights that we couldn't get access to, and it just wasn't out there. And I think every morning my email I get an email from Elena that said, "Where's B-roll? I need B-roll." And we ended up having to use a lot from clip art. So there's which you can't even tell you. So congrats to how you all put that together.
It was a very effective blurring effect. I can tell the editors were very busy. Dan, I'm excited, but I have to admit I was a little surprised that there is an esports committee as part of the Denver Sports Commission, as being able to make that happen and a prominent voice in the production. What did you think, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so well, you and me both. So I moved from Chicago here 2.5 years ago, and was honored to be asked to join the Denver Sports Commission. And we were looking at committees, right? You're the new guy, so it's like the FIFA committee, right? And everybody raises their hand. And then you go to the All-Star Game committee on down the line, and they're like, has anybody here worked in esports? And I'm like, we have, as you can see from the video. So it turned out to be one of the best things that's ever happened to me and our company. David Coors is here, he's the co-chair with me, great brand representative. And it's been a really fun journey to see us almost, just go from this research. We did all the demographic research. And then when we did an article just announcing our vision, just to learn, the next day we got a call from the governor, and he's a gamer, right? Like the authenticity of that has just been unbelievable. And then you see, I think working with Rob and the team, and just the authenticity. I think what we've seen at Forefront is a lot of markets need to manufacture all these ingredients of audiences, government, corporate support. And as we went through this discovery process, and even with Mary and DU, everybody gets it, and the collaboration that exists here at the state level, city, university, corporate is just incredible. So I think it really is a look around the corner into what the future of this market could be, and it just couldn't be more exciting that you don't have to manufacture it, right? I'm a marketer. Sometimes you have to do that, and for us, we just, like I said in the video, you just need to tell the story, and I think there's a lot to be proud of, and I think the best is still yet to come.
Well, speaking of the industry's future, Mary, we'll go to you. With this is becoming it's going to have a larger footprint to DU. This is a big deal at the University of Denver. Tell us about what is making that happen, and what is the plan?
Certainly. So thank you for having me. Very pleased to be here. DU is embracing this in a big way, as you said. Our engineering school, our business school, our law school are all engaged in this, and I see a future for our College of Arts, Humanities, Social Sciences as well. In that regard, I'm mindful of games for change, games that promote social justice norms and themes. So that's something we're embracing as well. Right now we have a major in game development. 40% of our majors are female, I'm pleased to say, and we have an esports club that competes regularly, and they're looking forward to getting involved in intercollegiate athletics. So we're very excited about this. This is the way of the future. Our students are either esports fans or former esports players. I saw in the film retirement at 25. Gee, wouldn't that be nice? I'm some multiple of that. So we see ourselves as appealing to both of those major bodies of students.
Well, Sarah, as you're from Nerd Street and local host, tell us about what that is and what kind of impact it's making here in Denver.
Yeah, so we're with Nerd Street Gamers. The whole mission behind our company is trying to bring esports to everyone. We're trying to reduce that barrier of entry. So trying to give people a place to compete, as well as change the stigma of what people think gamers are. They're thinking they're dirty, they're in a basement. Like, we're trying to get parents on board that that's not how it is anymore. So like, that's where we're really trying to get at here, is just kind of like change the image, grow the communities, give them somewhere to play. Because like when we came into Denver, there was a huge need. People were playing in venues that kicked them out. They had to go find some restaurant that would keep them for a couple hours, and that's just not fair, and it's not fun. They don't want to go to strangers' houses to play games. So we're just really trying to build that like trust in the community as they all grow together.
Dan, I've got a question about, as you look at the multiple facets of the industry, because I can imagine 20 years ago people want to get into gaming. Well, I'm going to be a designer. I'm a computer designer, certainly that would make sense. But then all these other aspects as a marketer and all the different avenues here, it's almost like any other, so many of the industries are included. Tell us about all the different aspects of this industry that we may not be thinking about at first glance.
Yeah, I think that's one of the lessons even for parents, right? When you've got that high school student that's a gamer, it's looking at their university choice. There are so many factors and opportunities to transfer your passion into your career, right? So you've got event management, tech, math, programming, entrepreneurism, right? I mean, that parallel, and I think that's where my light bulb went off in our office when I was talking to our staff, that they could see the winds of change. And I'm working on NFL, NCAA stuff right at the time. And what you realize is this is still the Wild West. So you've got this group of entrepreneurs, and the saying that I like to say is this group learned how to swipe before they learned to wipe, right? So, and it's a real reminder that they grew up on devices. And they don't know geographic boundaries, they don't know mental boundaries, so they want to be progressive, they want to be entrepreneurs. And I think just seeing the school and the head of higher ed on there, for us, even I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, right? Like if that was part of their primary school experience to open their eyes, that to me is the number one thing about this community, is it's very inclusive. And also it's limitless potential. They can be part of the story makers versus carrying on the baton. And I think that's probably for the parents out there, right? That's what you want for your children, right? To blaze a trail, connect with people, that state of togetherness, and do something that's never been done before. That's what this group needs. We as a state just need to give them a little bit of a push, right? You know, in some direction. And I think with Governor Polis's support, it's just been amazing to see that journey so far.
I have to imagine, I don't know for sure, but are we unique in the country with a governor who is part of League of Legends?
I will, hand raise when I found that out. The marketer in me, right? Like, why that should be the front headline, right? And that group, I mean, they're drawing every bit as much as a Super Bowl would for economic impact. So I told him, I'm like, this is a huge advantage for us, is that you're one of them, right? And the ability to tell that story. There's no other state that can touch that. So I think some of the things that you're going to see with his vision and the strategy, we're just taking care of that. Not to mention all the people that are moving here that fit this demographic brilliantly. I can't, and I think he will, by the way, he will compete. I think we're almost going to have to have a pro-am or something, right? Because he will get the headset on and be ready to go. And I think you could see that switch go on, that he's going to try to win too, right? So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see.
I take him at his word as he talked about, maybe I'll be there. That's a for sure. That's a for sure. Mary, we talked about all the different options. How does a school go about preparing a curriculum for the variety of facets available in the industry?
That's right, and as Dan highlighted, there are so many different elements. So there's the technology, the computer science, the engineering, but there's also the entrepreneurship, there's the marketing that you referenced, the strategic management, and then I think also of the law. There are now law firms that specialize in esports, and so there's so many different avenues that can be pursued, and we're very excited to be involved in this realm. And building on what Dan has said, I have two 19-year-olds at home. They're both gamers, and one is now studying math and engineering, and I'm sure it's all of that gaming time that really helped develop his skills in that regard. So I think there's just ample opportunity, and we're very excited about it.
Rob, you mentioned, speaking of demographics, how do you go about making a film that is part of a cutting-edge industry? I mean, you have people talking in the documentary about it's the Wild West, we're still figuring it out, you're chasing it down. How do you learn about it at the same time of covering such an evolving field?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because my understanding of esports, when we started first talking about it with the Film Commission in the state, was Pac-Man and Pong. So I had a ways to go. And we were saying earlier about the belief that there are people in the basement and you're trying to normalize it. That was sort of my feeling, was that these were a bunch of geeky kids. Okay, so the first thing I did was actually call that guy in the back of the room, Steve Sander, and said, "What do you know? Help me, point me in the right direction about esports." And then he said, "Well, you gotta talk to Dan." And then Dan said, "You gotta talk to the following 10 people." And then he said, "You gotta talk to Matt, and you gotta talk to a Walker over at the Sterling Ranch." So all of a sudden, I'm talking to 10 people, and they're saying, "Then you need to talk to these 15 people." And I was on the Zoom, for almost every morning, talking to people about what is esports. And the hardest part was then trying to corral all that into a storyline. Because as we were saying, in terms of the different industries that are within esports, there are also different stories within esports. So there's the higher ed story, there's the professional story, there's the league story. And we didn't really even touch much on the professionals and the leagues that are another big opportunity for the state and for Colorado. So that could be another story altogether. So again, this is where Citizen Pictures and Atlanta had a big hand in helping to try and turn this into a storyline that made sense, that covered the breadth, but also without focusing too much on one, that we didn't get the whole picture.
Sarah, one of the many amazing aspects of this that struck me was I learned very early in high school that a future in athletics was not going to be for me. I was grateful there was a speech and debate team, but I would have been even more grateful if there was an e-gaming team. Anyone can do this, regardless of background, regardless of age, gender, everything else. What does that mean for a place like you? It seems like that'd be a very welcoming environment and something pretty special to offer that really very few other venues for something to do for youth can offer.
Yeah, and so it's really exciting because the whole aspect of it is you can play at any level. And like we really drive that's super welcome. We have our Smash Weekly every week. It's one of the largest in Colorado's. And we have players that are from the top 3 in the state to brand new people, 9-year-olds they're losing, but they're having an amazing time because they're getting to meet each other and they're getting to like learn and see that this doesn't have to be just one game, and there's so much that goes into it. So when they come to our tournaments, they see we have casters, we have production, we have people running the events, and behind the scenes, we have even more. We've got a legal team, we've got a media team, we've got like, it's an industry, like we're becoming like casinos, we're gonna be one-stop all one day. And so like that's one of the things that's so important for them to like really understand. It's not just a game. You don't just play it, plug it, go home. It's the after time. It's the meeting each other, which we're not seeing as much, which is why this is so integral as everything's shifting online. It's keeping that in-person touch with it as well.
And one thing I want to build, and by the way, if you've had a chance, highly recommend going to their facility. It's incredible, especially if you want to see it, and just the spirit of community and welcoming. You know, that's what you want for your children too, right? Above anything. But you brought up an interesting point about, you know, that moment, right, where you realize you're not going to be a professional athlete. For me, it was baseball and this thing called puberty and a curveball, right, that just like ruined my baseball path. But like, where do all those athletes go? And esports, the fascinating thing, we did a program with Orlando Health in Florida, and they actually showed the mental health and mental wellness preventing teen suicide. And you know, we forget that we've accepted these traditions, and where does that boy or girl go that's lonely, or there is no team for them to be on? So this is bigger than sport. And I think the wellness and seeing the high school support and the Board of Education, it's just a wonderful community, and that's the difference, right? It's not the, you know, attacking of that side, sportsmanship, values, all of that is really present, and that's one of the things that I really try to stress to parents, right? You know, as an example of that. So I think when you got the holistic support at the governor's level, universities, you can see the umbrella effect on down to that 12-year-old that needs a place to belong, right? And if we can achieve that, that is immensely positive for the state and just all of our society too.
To Dan's point, our student affairs and athletic affairs are partnering to develop a new esports facility on our campus, but it's very much towards building community and promoting well-being. So I'm glad that you've made that point. I'll also add that on the corporate side, a lot of corporate training is now being gamified, and it strikes me that that's something that we should be leaning into in Colorado. We want to attract these corporations, we want to be training their professionals effectively, and can be using the gaming modality to do so.
We've gone a long way from Flight Simulator on my computer. I have been hogging the panel and their attention, so I did want to open up. We only have a few minutes left, but if there are any questions from the audience, you can. I'm happy to keep it. I've got a long list here. I'm very curious. But are there any questions from the folks out there? Well, I will certainly just take the opportunity. Rob, let me throw it to you again. You're capturing all this different information, and it's something all about Colorado, but we know there's a future. When you're trying to tell a story about that, what is important to you and the voices you're capturing? I've got to be sure this is included because it's the most important part of the story.
I think one of the things that was important was to show, as I said earlier, to show the different story arcs that were here, whether it's about youth or professional, but we're also trying to show the diversity of gamers and show the equality that can be created through esports among women and men, young, old, people of color. So I think one of the hardest parts in the film is getting the B-roll, or getting the video that actually could show that. So that was an important part of telling that story purposefully.
Sarah, is a lot of the production talked about the attraction of future investment, but your organization is part of that. You know, hey, we decided to plant a flag and be here. Do you know what was some of the aspects of Colorado that said this is a place that Nerd Street local hosts needed to be?
Yeah, so our headquarters were based in Philadelphia, but when they were looking to expand, Colorado was forefront on the map. There was a shown need that the communities have a place, so they partnered with a local organization to kind of come together and figure out, like, how do we build it so that we're not the man. As soon as we're the man gamers, they're done. They walk away, they don't want anything to do with us. And so that's why the community is so important, and Denver just had this need. It's a very central place, which is great because coast to coast, we have stores, so it kind of gives a location for everyone. And when you've got views like this, it's really, really hard to kind of turn this down.
I certainly can't blame you there. Dan, as you're looking at what Colorado has to offer for this industry, it also feels like we talk about it being a glimpse of the future, and nothing against any other athletics. They're all fantastic, but if my kids are going to be able to play this, I'm not going to worry about them getting concussion. I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on pads that they're going to grow out of the next year. It can seem pretty attractive to people of all ages, getting that message out there to parents that this is an opportunity. What are some of the steps involved there? As a marketer, how do you get that message out there?
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things is it's just happening. And I would give the analogy, I gave the analogy of the Beatles, right? Of feeling like a concert. Traditionally, a father's mother will pass along a tradition. I'm going to sign you up for soccer, right? I'm going through that with my kids right now, right? But what's happening here is they're discovering it on their own, and they're asking mom and dad to join them. So that's the difference right there. So it's just really at that intersection of parents choose. Are they going to embrace this? And I think I said in the video, you fear what you don't understand. And I think once parents go to a place like Nerd Street and see the community and all these values and just really good people and good kids, that's what you want your family to be a part of. So that's the change, right? It's less about me trying to dictate to my son or daughter, well, Dad loved this, so this is what you're going to do on your Saturday. It's listening and empowering them in a different way and just being open-minded to it. And I think that's probably the biggest change.
And I was going to give an example of that. My twin sons invited me to a CSGO tournament. I was like, okay. So we had a family outing to Columbus, Ohio for a CSGO tournament. But it very much builds on what Dan was saying. And to your question about Colorado, I think of the airport. I think, as the governor said, we're centrally located. I think of our tech industry. And then my computer science experts told me all about servers and latency and reaction times. So that's something else that I wanted to underscore for Colorado being central to this.
And Mary, I would build on that. It's been a lot of fun, working with Matthew Payne and David, recruiting these events that, Governor Polis wants to have. There's all these checklists, right? And this city doesn't have this, or this state. And it's like all the intangibles of the airport, international, a group coming from Singapore here, it's pretty easy, right? Midwest located for domestic. And then you get down to the digital farm. Who knew we had that here, right? We do. And all of these things that the others need to build that we already have, I think it just took some time, and this film does a beautiful job of the storytelling of just bringing everybody together to share in that singular mission. One of the things that we want to do is you can't tell the story of esports without mentioning Colorado or Denver. And if we start with that ambition and bring everybody together, that's where day one and the vision has already started.
Well, the time has gone quickly. There's one last question for all of our panel. Mary, I'll start with you. As you're looking towards the future of this industry, what it means to Colorado, what are you thinking about as some of the top issues as we look to its future?
Well, there's no doubt that esports is going to be one of the professional sports, like basketball, like football. That is the future. And I think we have to lean into that and embrace it now. And so higher ed will be a partner in that effort, which is another opportunity that Colorado offers, just the high quality of our public and private universities, including DU. So very excited about this.
Rob, you've given us this glimpse of the future. What do you see as the next step? Maybe what do you see as the sequel?
Well, the sequel is going to be, as everybody here starts to bring big events or small events or higher ed events, I want all that stuff videotaped, streamed, right? Because what you just probably saw in the documentary in the background was a lot of these things are webcast and televised. A lot of the pro players have followings that would rival CBS. One of the League of Legends streams had 100 million people watching it, so that's like Super Bowl numbers. So there's going to be a great opportunity for Colorado to not only be a center for esports events and games, but also for esports video production. We've got the right time zone. We have, as you said, the right internet infrastructure. We have the talent for production here, and we've got the Film Commission supporting all of that. So we really have all the pieces in place to make it a global hub for the live streaming and video production too. That's not a commercial or anything like that.
Sarah, as you look towards the future, especially maybe possible expansion, other services, what do you think?
Yeah, I really see like in the futures we're going is we are in the Wild West. We're really finding we're grassroots communities and just really growing together is a Colorado community would really benefit us. I mean, the last 2 months, our company's had 2 really big events. We've had about 16 teams come from out of state. So it's proven people want to be here, and it's just kind of giving that extra bit on top of it. So once they're done gaming, where are they going to sleep? Where are they going to drink? Where are they going to eat? Like kind of really working and facilitating, like what is this going to look like as we're growing together and learning the best practices, and how do we not burn these communities so they don't like hate us in the future as esports. They don't ride off and do their own thing. They grow and they lean in with us as we're developing it out here in Colorado.
Dan, wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I'll answer it in 2 ways. I mean, professionally, Matthew and the Sports Commission have a vision for almost like a South by Southwest event that will occur here, that almost like if you think about the Masters for the PGA, it's just an annual stop, right? That culturally just raises Denver and Colorado at another level. For me personally, and David and I both, we have young kids in our family. We've talked a lot about this 20 years into the future, 12 years into the future, whatever it is. We just want to know that Dad and all the people in this room made a difference in bottling this moment in time for this industry. And now, Mary, I feel like I want my son to go to DU for math in his esports program. Start the recruitment early, but
Tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So that to me would be success, right? It's getting out of the weeds of what's right in front of us, staying true to the long-term vision, and just hit and go.
Well, as we mentioned, PBS 12 is so proud to be able to provide the broadcast premiere of this production. Game On this Thursday at 9:30. On behalf of everybody at PBS 12, including our brand new President General Manager, Chris McLesman, is joining us here. We're just very excited to be able to serve the community and providing this great story that Rob and the team all made possible. I, of course, want to join Donald in thanking our friends from the Denver Art Museum, especially Andrea Fulton, who made this possible. The very first public event here at this just amazing facility, to be able to kick off what will be a wonderful tradition here with this event. It's nice. This is part of the future, and here we are getting a glimpse of the future. And please join me in thanking our panel for their time today.